Welcome back to the Reset Project. My name's Tristan, and if you're new here, I'm documenting my journey from homelessness, bankruptcy, and a 480 credit score to ownership, stability, and financial freedom. In my last video, I showed you my credit scores, and it was pretty ugly. But today, I want to show you what's behind those numbers. This is what my credit report looks like 3 years into Chapter 13 bankruptcy. Not theory, not examples, my actual report. Now, when I was preparing for this video, I had to think about how to show the details without exposing too much personal information. So instead of a live website, I'll be using cropped screenshots to show the important sections. Just the parts that matter for what I want to talk about. That said, let's jump right into it. The first thing I want to show you is what the Chapter 13 mark actually looks like inside my credit report. I pulled a few shots from different creditors that were included in the bankruptcy. You'll notice all of the credit limits have been removed. That's normal once the accounts are part of the bankruptcy case. You'll also see a lot of them showing a late payment mark for April 2022. That was the month before I filed. At that point, I had already talked to my lawyer and stopped making payments. I thought that was the right move. What I didn't realize was that until my case was officially filed, those missed payments still counted against me. There was a period where my attorney was gathering documents and preparing my case, and every week that passed during that time still added more negative marks. Looking back, I wish I had made those last few payments. It probably would have helped soften some of this late history. But here's how the bankruptcy shows up itself. Right here, petition for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. This line will stay here for 7 years. The wording might look a little different, depending on the credit bureau, but that public record line will be there in some form the entire time. Now, I've heard a lot of confusion about when that 7-year clock actually starts. Some people think it's 7 years from the discharge date. It's not. It's 7 years from the date you filed Chapter 13. For Chapter 7, it's 10 years. So in my case, May of 2029 is when this line will finally fall off. That doesn't mean I'm waiting until then to start the rebuilding process. Here's a couple more accounts I thought were important to show. This credit card marked charge-off for $482 and this payday loan for $325, $195 charge-off. If you notice the dates, both of these happened after I filed bankruptcy. That was right after I got laid off from my job at the time. I received a small severance package that brought me a little time, but when that money ran out and I started drowning, these are what those desperate, flailing attempts to save myself look like on my credit report. I eventually found another job, but my take-home was barely $200, $250 a week. When you're desperate, you'll take what you can get. I was doing Amazon Flex and Spark deliveries to try to fill the gaps, but eventually all that stress and the constant strain on my body caught up with me. Around that time, I seriously considered converting my Chapter 13 into Chapter 7 bankruptcy. I even contacted my lawyer to ask about the process. The only thing that stopped me was realizing I was basically living out of my car. Without it, I'd had no way to get to work, and gig work would have been impossible. Now, I probably could have gotten another car, but with a fresh Chapter 13 on my record, any financing I got would have been predatory at best, and that would have started the same cycle all over again. If you look here, these two are more consequences of trying to hold on to my old lifestyle. This one's an old gas bill from the house I was renting for $339, and this one a past-due power bill for $1,112. The gas had been turned off long before I finally admitted defeat. We actually went through most of the winter without it. We used space heaters and electric stove to survive, and it was brutal. I told my daughter and my nephew to keep their bedroom doors closed at night to trap what little heat they had from the space heaters. I did the same, but trips to the bathroom at night made you want to hold it in. Before they got up for school, I turned the burners on high and opened the oven door just to warm the house up. Those were some hard times, some of the hardest I've ever lived through, and the result of all that, this massive $1,100 electric bill I left unpaid when I finally moved out. And the last thing I want you all to see is this student loan, dated after the bankruptcy for $11,233. This is a Parent Plus loan I took out for my nephew so he could attend college. Now I can already hear some of you saying, why would you do that? And honestly, you're probably right. But my nephew had a chance to go to college, to reach a place in life I never got to, and I wanted to give him that shot. Problem is, he ended up getting put out of school in his second year, and now this loan is sitting here in default. Technically, I can rehab this loan and bring it back current over 9 months. That's the easy part. The problem is this: That loan was supposed to cover the spring and fall semesters, but he got put out at the beginning of the spring semester. But for some reason, the school still received a full amount of funds. So before I start the rehab process, I want to know what happened to that money, because once I rehab, I can't dispute it. If the school kept funds for semesters he didn't attend, that money should have been returned to the lender. And that's what I'm trying to find out right now. This is the kind of thing most people never think about when it comes to student loans, and it ends up costing them money they shouldn't even owe. But I'm too broke for that. I need to know why I owe this full amount if he didn't even receive the services. So this is what I'm up against as I start the process of rebuilding, and that process starts very soon. Drop a comment and let me know where you're starting from. It's not talked about enough. Too many people are forced into hiding in shame when they're not in the best financial place. But we need to support each other more through these situations. I've got one more thing to show you in the next video before I build my plan and lay out some action steps. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to get through this together. Stay blessed, stay vigilant, and I'll see you in the next one.